What's up, everyone? Welcome to Sir Holmes Reviews. My name is Mark, and in this video, I am joined with the lovely Gray Area. Before we get started, Gray, can you tell everyone where they can find you at and a little bit about yourself?
Hello, I am MJ from the channel Gray Area. Here on YouTube, you can find me on Twitter at This Gray Area, Instagram at This Gray Area. I love talking Game of Thrones, love talking A Song of Ice and Fire, and other random shit.
All right, awesome. So what we're gonna do is, this is kind of like long overdue. Um, we're gonna go over like our favorite moments from Game of Thrones season 8, but we're probably gonna spend a lot more time talking about the worst moments from Game of Thrones season 8. And Gray, since you're a guest, I'll let you go ahead and start off. If you want, we can start off with the worst or the best. It's up to you.
Uh, why would you put me in that position? Let's go worst, best, worst, best, worst, best. Like,
Okay, that works.
so we can start off with the worst one and then do a good one, and then oh yeah, we'll go like that until we run out of good ones to put between the worst ones. Okay, so do you want me to start with my worst?
Sure.
Or you okay? So my worst moment. Okay, so we're talking moments, right?
Hmm.
Not overall, because like Daenerys's entire character arc is the worst thing for me about season 8.
Um,
So
so you could pick a character arc or like a moment. It don't matter.
okay, so yeah, Daenerys's character arc is the worst. It's my worst.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think like the whole fast tracking her into this sort of descent, the Mad Queen, if you will. I had to go back and rewatch multiple times, but I can see glimpses of it in prior seasons. But then they backtrack that by making her do something that someone in, I guess, in the right frame of mind wouldn't. So like one of the first things was, I guess that was probably later down in the line, but nailing the slavers on the
Yeah.
way, and I guess locking Jaro Jean Daxos in the vault, maybe. Like the way she sort of did it was like it happens after she sees maybe, well, obviously the House of the Undying, but
Mhm.
I feel like that moment with Caldra, I don't really want to get into that, but I was gonna say it kind. I guess that could be one of the moments, but they, as we progress throughout the seasons, they backtrack it because we see her doing other stuff, and I feel like something like Jorah being her number one advisor, and then just sort of killing them off, and then along with Missandei,
Mhm.
they definitely wrote it so that there was no other. They wrote themselves into a box. There was no way to sort of reason with Daenerys, I guess, at that point.
Yeah, I think like the big part of Daenerys' story, like the reason you can see it, that her arc is such a calamity, is because of like everything stupid that led her to that shit. Like, okay, so Daenerys forgot about Euron Greyjoy's fleet. What? How
Well,
dumb
well,
is
no,
that?
they didn't say she forgot. They said she kind of
Right.
forgot. like she just wasn't in her mind or something. Yeah, at the time. Yeah. I don't know.
Right. So Daenerys forgets about Euron Greyjoy's fleet. And then like everything is like, okay, well, Daenerys is super mad at Jon Snow because he's Aegon. When she's like, the reaction that she has to it, to me, is normal. If I am somewhere across the world by myself while Jon Snow is up here living the life at Winterfell, and I'm like across the world ducking assassins since birth, like having to be raised by crazy ass Viserys, and then like going through being sold to a horse lord, and then bearing a child, burying a husband, and then everything she went through to come back home and be like, oh, by the way, I'm your brother's kid. My claim is better than your, like, anyone would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like anyone would be like that. So a lot of people use that for she didn't want to give up the crown. She didn't want to give up the throne. Like, it was such a calamity. It was such a calamity that they used Tyrion to explain it to us. When, like, he's telling John, like, first it was this, then it was this, then it was that, and this is why you have to kill her. But it's like, so are you trying to convince? So you're trying to convince the audience that this is why, and you're trying to
Yeah,
convince
there.
John.
Yeah, it's like with Sansa being, and I just did a video about hating on Sansa, but it's kind of like how Sansa's not actually an intelligent character on the show. She contradicts herself all the time. So the way they convince us is by literally having a conversation between Jon and Tyrion in season 7. Oh, Sansa's smart as fuck now. And they're like, no, that's not the case. Just because you're telling us the character's smart doesn't mean
Smart
as
smart as fuck. Smart as fuck. Arya handed her a knife. And she said, "I don't know what to do with it."
She's like, what the fuck? I don't get it. Like,
and Arya's like, "Bitch, it's a knife. It's a knife."
It's like, is that, what do you want me to do? Do I write a book with that? Like, what, are you fucking serious?
No, they dump, like, book Sansa is a lot smarter, like, the older she gets. But, like, in the show, that Sansa's dumb as hell.
I think the biggest issue, like, overall is, and I think everybody agrees in this, is the rushed nature of it. Even if you wanted to keep that same sense of the plot going along, they have to have shit happening all the time. It's coming to the penultimate, like, ending. Give us 3 more fucking episodes, right? So we had to wait 2 years for something that wasn't even done. Like, it really wasn't even done. And I think, a lot of the hate gets tossed Dan and Dave's way, 99.9% of the hate, but some of it, like maybe 2% of it, needs to be tossed towards George. They were told that they would have, a completed story to tell. And
That's true.
I think honestly, you could argue against that, being like, well, George was told there was going to be 12 fucking seasons. He thought he was going to have time to finish it. But when you look at it, when he released the last one in 2011 up until now, we've had like, I guess, Fire and Blood come out. Did World of Ice and Fire come out like 2014 or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
We've had other shit come out since then, and we haven't had the book yet. So he wouldn't have been done anyway. Is my point. Like, he wouldn't have been able to finish. I don't know. I feel like he needs a little bit of the blame, not like
I agree. Like, it's clear that they excelled at adapting the books. Like, once they passed the source material, the shit went downhill. But, like, so they didn't sign up to write A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah, exactly. That's beautifully put. They really didn't.
But everybody told them, like, everybody involved told them, this is gonna need to be more episodes. Like, this is bigger than we thought it was. You know what I mean? Like, HBO's willing to give them, like, unlimited resources. George is telling them it needs to be more episodes. And they're like, we originally estimated it at 7 episodes. We're going to keep it at 7. Like, they got arrogant. That's what I believe. And I don't think, like, oh, they don't care if it's good or not. I think they really wanted it to be good. I really think they thought it was good, but it wasn't. And if they had just, I think if it was 2 more, if we had 2 more, I think if we had 10 episode seasons, like, that's what you need to tell the story.
Yeah.
And also, on the part of George, in George's defense, like, I don't think he knew Game of Thrones was gonna get so big where he's gonna have to do interviews and, like, he's gonna have to, like, change his whole lifestyle that he had before. And he probably thought he could write these books a little faster. But also, they cut so much out of the books. Like, Dance of Dragon, like, Dorne, they cut all that shit out.
Yeah, I think that's where they really screwed up at with Red. Like, so we can even go all the way back to Lady Stoneheart. Cutting out certain characters because they know how their arcs are gonna end in later books might have been a smart thing, but then they wrote themselves into a corner because they didn't burn through all the fucking material, not having episodes that slowly focused on certain things. If you can have a dragon the size of a 757 plane flying in, you can have a zombie woman you already have Clegane. Like you could have had the Lady Stoneheart storyline. Like that would have given us multiple episodes and then maybe even half a season on that. Like literally, there's so much shit there that they after they've already skipped it, there's no way to sort of go back. So I think that's
Yeah.
kind of what they figured out. They figured out like, oh, okay, this is an adaptation. People are going to understand that we aren't going to adapt every single character, and some characters are going to get arcs given to other characters. They just did that too much, and it just became like this slippery slope where they ran out of stuff.
I could see like not adapting every single character, but like POV characters. Why the hell do you get rid of POV characters? Like I don't understand that. Like, and the whole Aegon thing, I feel is important. And I was thinking that in when season 1 came out, I don't think A Dance of Dragons was out yet, so they didn't have any idea about Aegon at the time. So then when they get the Dance of Dragons and they get this whole other storyline with more characters, I think they just like were like, oh, we don't have enough money for this shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you said, they do. I think the problem to begin with is that the Dan and Dave, obviously you can tell when violence is ramped up, when humor is ramped up, when like there's more tits in a show. They listen to the audience, so they're like, that's what people say they like about the show. So they're like, they may not be listening to us watching, they're listening to the higher ups at HBO. They're like, yo,
Right.
this is what we need, this is what drives the show. So then it's kind of like they also hear that negativity. They obviously watch the reviews. You know what I mean? I know for a fact Sophie Turner watches Game of Thrones videos on YouTube because there's an interview that she does where she talks about people thought she was pregnant because there were some images that came out from the beginning of season 6 with her and Theon, where Theon's like leaning in front of her and her shirt kind of sticks out a little bit. I was one of the first people on YouTube, along with like everybody else I was doing Game of Thrones videos with at the time. We were like, yo, she's pregnant as fuck. The fact that she commented on that, there was no articles written on it. The fact that she commented about that lets me know that somebody in that behind the scenes watches the Game of Thrones videos, the reviews online, and they start to hear that criticism, and maybe they're like, you know what, I'm fucking done with this. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are gonna ruin our careers if we don't get out of this while they're ahead. They also saw what happens to other shows like The Walking Dead that goes on for a long time. It's like, God, fuck, end this while you're still on. And that's what they felt like they were doing, but they didn't realize that, you know, you can't end something that's 60 hours long in fucking 6 hours. It's not gonna work.
It's Game of Thrones is a TV show that like is, I don't know the word for it, but it's like the best TV show. Like they were doing things that nobody was doing. So to take a show like that, as polarizing and as popular as it is, and to just sink it, and like I get it, right? I get it. Like, you can't please everybody. So of course there were gonna be people that don't like what happened. But the overwhelming majority of people hated it. Like, that's what I got.
Well, I would say, just to be fair, the overwhelming majority of people online, those are the only people we can
Yeah,
really,
true.
that are the most vocal. I have a few friends that watch the show. Uh, they honestly, aside from maybe what they overhear me talk, they don't watch my videos. They don't watch any reviews on YouTube. There's a large chunk of the audience that doesn't. I mean, we can see it in the numbers. For instance, we would all average like 1 million views on our breakdown videos. Well, there's 17 million, 20 million, 45 million people after all the downloads are counted that watch the show, and there's a good chunk of them that don't watch YouTube. So we don't know what they think. Like, aside from our interaction with our own friends that like the show and what they tell us about it, and then also all of us. And we have to realize that we have the show set such crazy fucking standards. No matter how they did it, whether we got an extra 3 episodes, there's gonna be a big chunk of the audience that is like, yo, this is bullshit. I don't like this, or I don't like that. And really, a lot of it comes down to you being, at least for me anyway, is that part of my life is over. That whole like, you know, getting to watch Game of Thrones every Sunday, That it was a show of the times. Obviously, they had modern politics mixed in with like a medieval setting, so it's like it could relate to modern day shit, and it's gone. It's over. We're never gonna get anything like even the spinoff. You're not gonna have the same people on it. You know what I mean? So
No.
yeah.
But I don't know. I guess what kind of like gets me is when people are like the actress that plays Melisandre, when she was like, people were ungrateful because it was so good before that now they're just being, it sounds ungrateful. And I'm like, bruh, like, you guys made millions of dollars. Like, actresses, Dan and Dave made millions of dollars. Like, ungrateful, like, we don't get to watch Game of Thrones for free. We have to pay, like, people have to pay HBO.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest here. I did when the show's on, but when the show's off, I'm not paying HBO $15 a month to watch something I already seen and then had to study because I made a video on it. I downloaded it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like everybody did. I think there was at one point more people downloading that could watch it because HBO wasn't even available in there. So.
Well, like, look at this shit. Like, this shit isn't fucking free. Like,
yeah, exactly. Okay,
shit.
so yeah, and then also going to stuff like we were talking about before we started this, Con of Thrones. None of that shit. That shit all costs. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that shit costs money. Like, we're not just. You guys aren't doing fucking volunteer work. We pay for that shit.
Yeah.
So we want it to be good and we love it. Like, that's the thing that people kind of like confuse. Like, oh, you're whining. Oh, da da da. Maybe I am, but I love it. Like, I'm passionate about it, and I want it to be great. And I didn't feel like it was great. I feel like the actors did good. I feel like the costumes were good. The episode, the CGI was good. Like, it, all of that stuff where they were like breaking barriers, the shit that they were doing.
Yeah.
But the fucking plot, trash.
Speaking of CGI, and I guess we'll transition into some things that we liked about it, just for a little bit. There was one scene in season 2. That's what I'm on right now. I just finished season 2. I'm like on the 3rd or 4th episode of season 3 of my like learning how to relove the show rewatch. There's like this one scene of, is it King's Landing? It's some fucking city, and it looks amazing. And then there's a shot of they're like, it's like of sea kind of, but not really, like in the Battle of Blackwater.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that came out in 2012, that CGI is still better than, and this is probably going to get some criticism, y'all let me know down below in the comment section, but it's still better than anything that Lord of the Rings did in their CGI. It was like, that shit didn't hold up over time. So I feel like that, like that early on in the show, they're already surpassing certain things that are staples in the high fantasy genre. It sort of just, you can't go out on a mediocre note, or like, by leaving you can't go out the worse than the way you came in, because they set such high expectations so early on.
And they didn't go out with bad CGI. They went out.
Well,
with
no.
CGI.
I mean, with shitty plot line overall, like you.
But like, I was talking about that. Like, season 2, episode 10 is my favorite fucking episode in the entirety of Game of Thrones. Valar Morghulis. So there's nothing big battle about it. It's like the old school Game of Thrones, like what we love, what I love, which is like the dialogue, plot, people talking, people plotting, like plans getting made and plans going astray. Like, there's this one scene where Tywin Lannister, it's in season 10, season 2, episode 10, Tywin Lannister, Tyrion is all fucked up and he's in bed. And like, it's right after the Battle of the Blackwater. And then it pans to Tywin's horse just taking a big shit on the floor, and he just walks into the throne room, and the Reigns of Castamere is playing.
Yeah, I saw that. I watched that scene earlier. Yeah.
that is Game of Thrones, because Tywin literally is getting hailed the savior of the city, and Tyrion is the savior of the city, and he's all laid up in bed, and the horse just basically, it pans from Tyrion to Tywin's horse basically shitting on him. Like, that's Thrones to me.
Yeah. I think Tywin was probably one of my favorite characters. I think it's because I like the actor who plays him so much. He's just so well-rounded.
Yeah.
Every scene he's in, he like steals it. Uh, but yeah, so I guess just sort of transitioning into some things that I personally liked about this last season is sort of a combination, I guess. Tyrion actually surviving. I didn't like his arc, but I liked Tyrion in season 8. I didn't like his arc, but I liked Tyrion as a whole, and I'm glad he actually did survive. You know what I mean? He's one of the people that, I mean, he has the most POV chapters. It's like 36 of them. That means that there's also probably a good chance that he may survive in the books. Obviously, he's in a totally different place than where he's at now on the show, but I think that was pretty awesome. And then I guess another thing would be the Long Night episode. Not the darkness, but just like the in particular the Night King fighting on Dragonback against Jon and Daenerys. That was probably the best fight scene out of anything I've seen ever. I think so far.
Yeah.
Like as far as like fantasy goes. So.
Over there, you can't see it. It's not in frame, but I have the a shot of the dragons when you can see like the sky is all blue and there's just a moon with the two dragons. Yeah. It's so beautiful, and I liked the Long Night episode, but then I didn't.
What didn't you like about it?
I did not like that Arya killed the Night King. I thought that was.
Well, yeah.
I thought that was like so poo-poo. Like it. I feel like it's always been built up to be Jon Snow or Bran or Daenerys, and then like
or a dragon melt his ass, like something. Yeah.
But for Arya just to like sneak in from nowhere, literally she just bounces out of nowhere, and like I can get behind it if it's like set up, because that's kind of what Game of Thrones is, like these big setup moments that pay off later, like these little moments over time that pay off later. But it wasn't set up, and when you listen to their interview, like they basically say that they decided who would kill him like in season 6. So, or in season 5, in season 6, they decided who would kill him. And that's why they sent Arya back to Westeros, because they knew. So we don't even know if Arya is really going back to Westeros. They knew like the first thing they had to do is get her back to Westeros. And then they say that no one thought about her in that moment. So they just picked her because it would be shocking and no one would think it would be her. And I just think that's fucking garbage. Like, that's lame. Well, this is not that kind of show.
Well, some people did. I know I did. I said Arya would likely be the one to do it, especially once we saw her with that dagger. I knew that cat's paw dagger was something special. So once we saw that she got it, to just linking the two clues. I think to counterpoint you, no one's had more training than Arya. No one. They spent the most time showing you how badass of a fighter she was. So I think if you want to just sort of play their side a little bit, which I think it was bullshit too. I think if they had done it a different way, like for instance, the way I would have done it is I would have had Bran warg into the Night King. All of the undead realize that Bran is warging the Night King, and then they go and attack him. That would have made the most fucking sense. He's destroyed by his own creatures, and then as soon as they destroy him or start stabbing him to death, they all blow up into ice, and it was like some crazy thing. So no one really gets that burden of, I killed the Night King. We couldn't have had Jon. I knew it wasn't going to be him because it was just too obvious. I thought they were going to square off for sure. I thought the Night King was going to kill Jon and work. I thought maybe the Night King could have worked into Jon because he was brought back. It just they fucked it up. I think it was cool to have Arya do it, but it was the way they did it was like wrong. You could argue that she's the strongest character. They showed her when fighting with Brienne. She basically tied Brienne, and we knew Brienne was one of the top warriors. I mean, I don't know. It's coming out of nowhere and just, you know what I mean? Like Melisandre telling her, "Oh, you know who you gotta go kill." When I was telling you you'll close the green eyes and blue eyes, I meant the Night King. Like, no, I wasn't. Okay.
Right, right. But they hadn't even decided she was gonna kill. That was like a retcon.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
They hadn't even decided who was gonna kill the Night King at that point. Like, I get it. Like, Jon doing it would be probably cliche, but like if Arya's gonna do it, then set Arya up to do it prior. Like, I get that you said you had theorized that, but like had you theorized anybody else to kill the Night King?
Mostly Bran or John for sure. Like I
Yeah,
mean,
Bran.
the John just because it's an obvious choice, but then the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it's just too obvious. But Bran should have probably been the one to do it. Then when he sat as Bran the Broken at the end, it would have been like, oh well, he overcame the Night King. It only makes sense.
Right.
He decrowned one king, and now you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. It would have made a lot more sense for Bran, but it was just like so unrealistic, right? So
Yeah.
that like the thing about Game of Thrones that I really like is that although it's a fantasy show, a lot of it is realistic. But like you have John literally fighting a dragon with a sword. He was fighting an undead dragon
He
with
screamed
a
at it.
sword. Like I love Daenerys, love her guts. But when Daenerys got off Drogon and was like having the sword, like holding the sword, fighting people with the sword,
That was awesome to me. That's
it was
Sansa. That's what.
awesome.
Yeah, that's what Sansa. I mean, okay, like
It just didn't fit to me.
that's just how much I like her character. You know, it
I love
shows you
her.
it shows you that she's not just gonna be like Cersei and Sansa. She's gonna actually do something. She's not gonna take poison and try to kill herself or try to play the other side until she can escape. She was like, fuck this. I got a dragon blast dagger. You know what I mean? And she's honestly been through more shit than both of them. You know what I mean? So I don't
It's
know.
true. It's true. It just like it just didn't. I was like, girl, they got my Daenerys out here fighting with a sword.
I think the
What
problem
is
is
happening?
they didn't show her wanting to learn how to do it. I guess like they said every man, woman, and child we're gonna have them pick up. Literally, that didn't happen. Some little fucking kid did it. That was a one little kid or some shit like that.
I
That doesn't make sense.
I will tell you what I one thing that I hated about not really hated, but I just didn't like. I'm sorry, I'm talking about all the bad stuff. But I really did not like that no one made a big deal about John riding the dragon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like no one and it wasn't like in season 7 he had that like really slowed down emotional kind of scene with Drogon. And then when he rides Rhaegal, it's almost like a comedy scene. You know, like it felt like comedy, like Disney-ish.
Well, I mean, I feel like that anything that we see something like that moment's been built up for so long, it's gonna feel surreal when we watch it. No matter which way they had done it, I feel like maybe they could have written it differently. But I thought they did a pretty good job with that. I think I'm a sucker for violence or like something cool like riding on a dragon. You know what I mean? I feel like no matter because it was built up for so long, someone else riding a dragon, whether it was Jon, Tyrion, whoever, it was gonna seem sort of surreal. You know?
Yeah, but it's just like he flies over Winterfell and they see him, but they never like after they see him.
Oh yeah, they never make a.
Like they never say, "Hey, you rode a dragon."
Yeah, how is
No
that?
one but a Targaryen
Exactly.
has ever rode
Yeah.
a dragon.
Good point.
So,
And
I
those, yeah,
I just feel like it was a big deal. Like it should have been a bigger deal, but I guess like they didn't have time because
they
time
kind of
they,
forgot.
they kind of forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say another thing that I kind of liked was the fact that, and you know, maybe not everybody agree with me on this, but King's Landing got destroyed. I actually enjoyed that thoroughly. Like obviously, the screams of the people burning alive was like pretty gut wrenching sometimes, but it was also comical because it was like you guys are assholes. Y'all killed Ned Stark. You almost raped Sansa. I don't even like Sansa, but you almost raped her. You know what I mean? You turn everybody, like they turn on everybody. So they threw a pile of shit at Joffrey's face in season 2, and then smeared poo poo on Cersei. So those are, you know. But other than that like everybody talks about how the city stinks and it's one of the worst places. I feel like it would only be a matter of time if it hadn't been wiped out before something else happens again. Now it's sort of like they got all fresh immigrants and people that are grateful to be there. So, I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed her doing that because it shows you like, you know what? You beheaded the last person that might have been able to talk me out of this. maybe after I lost a dragon, 2 dragons trying to save this bitch ass place. You know what I mean? And then you guys want to be like, wait, we give up. No, fuck that. It's too late. You already crossed the point of that. And every single citizen in King's Landing was against her anyway. Like ringing the bells was like, it was just like, yeah, nah, you're getting off too easy. I agree with that. Like I don't know.
Well, I will say that I don't agree with anybody burning a city full of men, women, and children, but I get it because when right after Masande was beheaded, I went on Twitter and I was like, if Daenerys burns King's Landing to the ground, I will not give one single fuck. Like,
I mean, it's not like a city of people and slaves like she freed in season 3 or season 4 or whatever. No, these are all assholes. They're all free people. They could. There's 50 miles of tunnels underneath King's Landing. Get the fuck out of the city. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no, you chose to stay there. But she can't get us. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just didn't like that. You know, Daenerys was made to be like this super fucking villain, like killed more people than Cersei, killed more people than the White Walkers, killed more people than Tywin, killed more people than Bruce Bolton, killed more people than Ramsay Bolton, like killed more people than all of them combined. And I just can't see that this way in the books. Like I can't see her doing that after their surrender bells in the books. I could totally see her burning King's Landing. I could totally see her burning the Red Keep. Not that way.
Yeah, I felt like it may have, in defense of her being, or say in defense of, against Daenerys, I guess. I don't know. You could say that there is a way smarter way to do it. She would have just literally had to fly straight to the Red Keep and go, like, that was, I think, who had mentioned that? Was it Yara? It said basically go fly right to the Red Keep and take Cersei out like right away. That's literally all she had to do the entire time, and she never did that. Never.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
That's crazy.
It doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah. It's like they wanted that to happen, and the only thing that makes me think why they tried so hard to make her the Mad Queen is because that's how George is going to do it in his books, or something very similar. You know what I mean? It's like, why else would they try so hard to make that point happen? Obviously, everybody loves her character. They clearly loved her character too. They made everybody fall in love with her character on the TV show. You know what I mean?
I don't think they understood her character. I don't think they understood a lot of the characters because
I think they did up until they ran out of material.
Yeah,
that's where you could argue. That's where you could argue that she kind of was like just like used because she had dragons. You know what I mean? As a plot device for certain key moments.
They said in that interview, I don't know if you saw that panel that they did where like they answered all those questions, but they said that they rewrote characters, like they treated the actors as the characters and rearranged the houses. I forget the exact wording, but the wording was that they basically wrote the characters to fit the actors, and I thought that was crazy. And they did say that, like, the actress that plays Daenerys, she had said, Emilia Clarke, she had said, it was just a lot of pain, it was a lot of hurt, and Daenerys just wanted it to stop and just wanted to, like, make the pain go away, like, feel better just for a minute. And burning King's Landing helped her feel better. But then HBO went out and was like, Mad Queen.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they, because they were told how it was going to end, supposedly. They were told how it was going to end. So I think certain moments, like Bran sitting the Iron Throne, that makes, as much as I hate it, it actually makes the most sense. He's the best king, and he can live for like 1,000 years, and he wants nothing, so he's motionless, and it works. I don't know if it's going to be similar to that in the books. Maybe it will. We all know that, there's a little bit more to Bloodraven, or, there's more to that whole situation. There might be some evil deeds going on there, so I don't know if it'll be exactly the same, but I feel like if something were to happen similar to what it did with, like, the hold the door scene, it may prompt whatever. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. I feel like that. I don't know.
Well, like Bran's arc to me was handled very poorly. If if he's supposed to be King Bran and this big powerful green seer, but they like left him out of season 5. Like
Yeah.
season 5, he's gone.
He
And then
grows
like
like 6 feet.
right, and then after when he comes back, season 6. All right, season 7. When after he comes back, season 7, he's a completely different person than we saw in season 6. Right? He's super weird, super. I'm not sure how to explain it, but like I do feel like it's going to be King Bran in the books, and I feel like there has been foreshadowing for that. But I think we really need to ask ourselves a question: if Daenerys is really going to burn King's Landing down, and if that whole thing is true, that means that if it's book canon, that means that Bran knows she's going to burn it down, and he lets her do it, and he doesn't stop her. So who's worse?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like if we could use that Bran knew it, so why would he let it happen thing from the beginning? Why would he? Like it's the same thing for season 8. That doesn't make even more. He saw that. He obviously saw that happening. It's like, did he want that happening so he could be king? You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because we get him like in the Godswood telling Sansa, "I can never be lord of anything," and then he's like, Daenerys goes and burns King's Landing. We know Bran has seen it in the visions, like he's seen it. Um, he's seen it all the way back in like what, season 4?
Yeah, he saw Drogon's wings over. Yeah.
Yeah. So he let her go do it. He let her go do it. Just like he knew that Sansa would tell John's secret. And he didn't advise John against not telling them.
Yeah, he tried to. They tried to make it seem like he's this mastermind and he knows everything, but it's almost like he just allowed the dumbest parts of season 8 to happen. So fuck
Yeah.
Bran.
Yeah. That's like seriously. Like,
Yeah.
and that's another thing I didn't like about season 8, and that is the reveal, like where Jon Snow reveals who he is to Arya and Sansa. They cut it. Like we see them go in the gods when he promises them to swear, right? And then they cut it.
Yeah. And it's we all kind of want that certain moments to happen, and like they intentionally left them out. And then I guess we'll sort of wrap it part. I guess I'll do one more worst thing, one more best thing, and you do one more worst thing, one more best thing. But another scene that we all wanted to see, but I didn't realize how bad it would be when I saw was Cleganebowl.
Oh my God.
What the like? Are you serious right now, dude? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's like it's kind of when you if someone were to describe it to you and if you had never seen it and maybe you had just heard about the show, you'd be like, oh, that sounds kind of badass. You have like a burning building, like the main castle it all took place in, and these two giants amongst men who one guy looks different every 2 seasons. But they have this massive battle that's about to go down, and like it just sounds bad. But then you watch, and you're like, "What the fuck is this? Like, are you serious? This is so forced." And Cersei's just like, "Oh, whoops! I'm just keep walking this way." Like,
Right, like a lot of it felt like comedy.
yeah.
A lot of it felt like
And they
comedy.
did say their big influence is Monty Python, so it's kind of like, okay, I can kind of see that. I had never seen those movies before, but I saw a bunch of clips on YouTube, and it's like it's meant to be comedy, like medieval comedy. So you could tell that kind of came out a little bit, and they're just like, fuck it, like, what are they gonna do? Not let us come back for another season? This is the last
Yeah.
one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But I guess
what was your bet? What's your best?
I would have to say probably like picking out the last couple things I didn't mention from my list. Drogon leaving with Daenerys' body, meaning the possibility for her to be resurrected. That's
Yeah.
one thing they did with us. They tried to leave it open, like the Return of the King, where they had certain people doing certain things, and I like that there's still a possibility that Daenerys. We know resurrection is a thing. We know it's possible, and we know Drogon knows. Sort of, he's as intelligent as a human, so he would know what to do. You know what I mean?
Right. I love Jon Snow, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that episode would have been 30 times better if Drogon had fucking roasted him.
Yes.
Roasted Jon Snow, it would have made so much more sense. Like, you mean to tell me Drogon is gonna let you kill his mother and then just say, "Oh, the throne," and just
And
flame the throne?
they said he didn't even mean to burn the throne. It just happened to be there. So it's almost like when your brother or your mom or your dad gets mad at you, instead of hitting you, they hit near you to scare you. That's basically what they fucking said Drogon did. Hey, you killed my mom, but God damn it, Dad. You know what I mean? Like, what, are you serious? Like,
No, like, so that like pissed me off. Like, everything in that episode, like the Dothraki, like the
the
Dothraki.
disappearing act.
Okay, yeah. So in the Long Night, like all the Dothraki die, and then by episode 5 they respawn.
Enough to line King's Landing, the biggest city, yeah.
And then, like, the Dothraki custom, like, their blood riders, if their call is killed, then their blood riders only live long enough to avenge their call. And when Daenerys gave that speech in Vest Dothraki with Drogon, when she was on the back of Drogon, she named all of them her blood riders.
Yeah.
So technically, they were all supposed to avenge her. And no, like, they were just like, bye.
John just got to grow his beard out a little bit.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's what happened. Grey Worm, the vicious savage killer with no balls, is somehow... Yeah, you're right. Like, after he was just slitting Lannister soldiers' throats in the fucking streets and these guys had clearly surrendered, somehow, for Jon, he's known him for 6 episodes, that's his boy. He can't kill his boy, you know what I mean? And then you're just gonna happily leave King's Landing. Like, alright, I'll take these cold-blooded killers who had their one true savior taken out. We're just gonna leave from here.
Yeah, it's unreal. Like, it's unrealistic. But I'll tell you another part that I liked. So I liked Brienne getting knighted. That whole episode was the bomb. From the soundtrack, like getting to hear Jenny's song, and
see, I thought that was corny as shit. I did not like that. I was like, why the shut up. Like, I don't know. I like musical stuff. Inappropriate. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You said Jenny's song was...
It was terrible. Like, it was like when Bronn, so like the actor that plays him is like a singer in real life, and he does singing on the show like a few times, the Dornish wife or whatever. I'm like, dude, shut up, that's not good. And everybody's just like, oh, it's so awesome, it's so, like, it's alright if you, like, sure, okay.
I love when he sings the Rain of Castamere.
Yeah.
Does he sing it before the Blackwater, or is it like Guard?
Yeah, he does. He's like sort of humming, singing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the Jenny song, I like this scene. I just thought it like went on for too long. They're clearly trying to get like some sort of Oscar or Emmy nomination with this.
I'm sorry you caught me off guard. You caught me off guard with that because like everybody likes Jenny's song. No, I like Jenny's song because I really love the Ghost of High Heart and Summerhall and all of that stuff. So when I heard Jenny's song, I'm like, oh, are these words canon? Like, I know High in the Halls, the first part is canon, but like, are the other words canon? Like, who wrote this? That's where my mind went. But like, I feel like that was more classic Game of Thrones, like more season 2, season 3 Game of Thrones. That episode, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, was more like classic Thrones. And it was like probably purposely meant to be classic Thrones because episode 3 was just like so much was going on.
Yeah, I feel like they should have at least released 2 versions of the episode. Because, like, I have a really good computer, really good monitor. Even with that, I still couldn't see shit. Like, I feel like that kind of took away from how good it was just because we couldn't see certain scenes that well. And if there was a way to just remove the snow filter, you know, they're doing like a Snyder's cut for Justice League or whatever. If they did something like that where it's just you could delete the snow option, like, that would be awesome. Because that just shows you, like, you know, they probably poured, like, $50 million worth of the budget into that one episode because it's so long, and then some jackass in post-production is like, hey, let's put the blue filter over this and just black everything out. Like, I guess you could argue that that's what makes some of the CGI look so good is that it's not 100% clear, but I don't know.
Yeah, but it was too dark. It was too dark.
Yeah.
But it had good moments like Arya and John reuniting. That was good.
Yeah.
Um, Getting to see Ghost a lot. I feel like we got to see Ghost a lot in season 8. Even though he was mistreated, we still got to see him. And I'm a huge Ghost fan. But like Rhaegal dying, and Missandei dying, Daenerys dying. Like, I don't know. It's just, to me, it's like Daenerys would have been a good queen for the people of Westeros. And like Westeros just took everything from her, like everything from her, and then killed her. And then Drogon is just alone in the world, probably won't be any more drag. Like, it's just sad. And nothing's changed. Like, Sam says, Sam says, let's vote. Let's let everyone have a voice. And they're like, haha, shut the fuck up. No. At the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
he proposes like an actual change. And then they're like, no. And it's just like, Bran is going to be king. And it makes no sense that Bran would be king and went and read the Red Keep. There's no weirwoods down there. Like, I don't know. I would think like in the books proper, if it's King Bran, it's gonna have to be he's gonna have to be in Winterfell.
Or beyond the wall or something. Like he'll
Yeah,
rule from the cave, from Bloodraven's cave. Maybe
or
he'll.
the Isle of Faces.
Yeah, because didn't Bloodraven say that you'll never leave this cave, basically? Like, right? Didn't he say that?
No, he said he would.
Oh, okay.
That Bloodraven can't leave the cave because Bloodraven is still an old man. Like, he's an old man, like
Yeah,
tied to a tree.
and like with him becoming Bloodraven, it's a similar thing. Like he would basically rule from there.
I mean, when he gets now, he doesn't have to because he still has like Bloodraven has lived past his normal lifespan.
Yeah.
So the trees are keeping him alive. But with Bran, he will live out his normal life, and then when he gets too old, he can go and extend his life in the tree, and then he
Okay.
can't leave it.
Yeah, I forgot they did such a big difference. It's like the Bloodraven on the show, Three-Eyed Raven or whatever, is like thousands of years old, and in the books he's like 100, 200.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
But Bloodraven, like,
Brendan Rivers.
yeah, I had Bran being like a little Brendan Rivers just in a wheelchair.
Yeah. Um, so I guess to kind of wrap this up, I do want to say that Game of Thrones, regardless of how much I hated or how much I loved season 8, and I know, kind of speaking for you too, Greg, it's still overall the best television show that's ever. I feel like just saying television limits it to the small screen. The best, in my opinion, anything in any entertainment medium, whether that's a play that you go and see, a movie, a short series on TV, like a small little like 5 episode series. It's the best out of any of that, and it's overall way overshadows how shitty season 8 was, and I think
Yeah,
I'm probably always gonna feel that way.
yeah, I feel that way too. Like, it's my favorite TV show. Like, Game of Thrones, and I really love The Wire, but they're completely different.
I've never seen that. I need to
Oh,
watch that.
you need
I've
to
seen
watch.
parts of it. I've seen some really famous scenes from it, but I never, because I was so young when that came out, and I never had like cable TV or anything, so I never
Hmm.
watched it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it until long after it was out, but it's so good, and I love that show. But I still think that Game of Thrones, and that show ended well, but I still like put Game of Thrones above it in my mind, because Game of Thrones changed TV. Like, these shows weren't doing these shows didn't have these budgets like right now,
Yeah.
like what they have now. Like the Lord of the Rings, Amazon's dropping like billions with a B on the Lord of the Rings show for Amazon, and then like Wheel of Time is getting a show. So like it revived fantasy as
Yeah,
a genre.
it gave credibility to like putting all that money into a show that's not
Yes.
like some big blockbuster movie franchise. In my opinion, I think maybe the reason why you hold it, excuse me, better than a show like The Wire is because it's pure escapism. The Wire is realistic. It's like
Yeah.
how prison it like my mom's in prison, so I hear stories. I know it's very similar to what goes on in that show in real life. So no matter how good that is, it still keeps you on the level playing field in the sense that you feel like you can relate to it because that kind of shit actually happens. Game of Thrones, it's like it's that perfect mix of these are the War of the Roses, but also there's fucking dragons, and we know dragons. You know what I mean? Like we know that never. So it's like the perfect mix, and they also have moments like the Shadow Baby crawling out of Melisandre, confirming there's some mysterious shit going on there. But then also you have like grayscale being cured a very scientific way. You know what I mean? Like there's sort of something in George's world that like meshes those two things together.
It's a perfect balance between magic and realism. There's not too much. This is a perfect balance where, like, in an alternate universe, you would say, "Oh, this might be real," but then the dragons fuck all that up.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, it's a good show, and it does provide escapism, and I do think. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have not rewatched season 8. I have not rewatched season 7 since season 8. But what I did was I binge watched seasons 1 through 6 and just pretended that season 6 ended. Season 6, The Winds of Winter was actually the end.
Yeah, see, and that's another thing too. Is like when you do what we do and you cover the episode, you don't ever need to rewatch it because you study it so much. You've seen it. You know what I mean? Like when you're making, you know what I'm saying? You're making a video on it. You don't necessarily have to rewatch it. Like maybe eventually, but you already know. You know, like you were forced to talk about what happened in that. You know what I mean? So you kind of that's like your second viewing or your permanent viewing.
I think, like, if anybody is missing Game of Thrones, like, and you want a replacement for Game of Thrones, I just think you need to read the books because it's super different. It's super different. It's not going to be like the show. There's characters that don't exist in the show. I mean, read the books. Also read Fire and Blood, and also, like, House of the Dragon. Like, House of the Dragon is coming.
It's almost kind of good if you had waited to read the books until now. You know what I mean? Because now it's the show's completely finished, and a lot of the times when I catch myself when I'll try to focus on the book more in a certain video that I'm making, I find myself thinking about what happens in the show and comparing, and I'm like, dude, this is trash. What the fuck? The show's like the Hollywood entertainment version of, or the Hollywood. What the fuck is that?
It's Hollywood. I know what you're
Insider.
talking about.
You know, like the
the
trashy,
tabloid.
a tabloid version of like something that's actually happening. So it skews you, and then you start to become very jaded, and you're like, man, this show isn't even honestly worth it. You know what I mean? Because you experience, you see, and you're able to compare and contrast right away. And like, that's not how they did it in the show. Why the fuck did they do it? Like, why would they do? Why? You know what I mean? So I don't know. But yeah, I feel like now's the time that more than any, especially since we know that we're gonna be getting Winds of Winter when the New Zealand con was supposed to happen, right? So.
Yeah, supposedly. What is that? July?
I thought it was September. I don't know.
I think it was. I don't know. I know it needs to hurry up because I need to know what is going on with Daenerys.
Yeah, I feel like even if he doesn't release it by the end of this year, he needs to start dropping more sample chapters because that kind of, subsides you for a little bit. You know what I mean?
One sample chapter, like if you could get a sample chapter, who would you want?
I mean, who's he done so far?
He's done Sansa, Tyrion, Euron, somebody else.
Didn't he do?
Ariane.
Yeah, like the Martell girl.
Ariane, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, sorry, go ahead.
I would like a Cersei. A Cersei POV.
I feel like where's she at right now? She's like about to have her trial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like that would be awesome. That would I don't know. I feel like that's a good choice.
Yeah, I think it can't be John because I don't know how we're gonna. It can't be John.
What
but
it's
like,
like to see from his dead body is everybody standing around him trying to figure out how to resurrect him.
yeah, he's like,
Or it would just be a full POV of Ghost running running around like eating shit. That'd be funny.
like I know
Oh
nothing.
yeah, but I guess I'll ask you this and we'll wrap this up. What do you think? Do you think it's a possibility that John's spirit? Let's say we don't know he went into Ghost. That was supposedly the last thing he said, right?
Mhm.
Is it possible that he's stuck there? Because John died right when he warged into him, supposedly. So, and like, if you don't know in the books, John is a warg. All the Stark children are warg. I think it's more like Arya and John also get a lot of them too. But that's why a lot of people think that John warged into Ghost right as he died. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. Do you think it's a possibility he could be stuck in there?
No,
No, you think he's gonna?
I think he's
Because
definitely.
once George kills a character, there's no more POVs, right? He doesn't write like there's no.
So Lady Stoneheart doesn't have a POV. Is it? So you think it's gonna be like that, like where John?
It could be. It could be. So at Con of Thrones we did this panel. I think the second one. Maybe the first one. But everybody was mentioning like there's no dead people POV. So if John does come back and he's resurrected, maybe he doesn't get any more.
Well, it depends how he's resurrected because I definitely don't think Melisandre is like alive, and she has a POV. Like Melisandre says suspect things like, "I've studied this art for years beyond count." Years beyond count. Well, I know you can count to 100. I know you can count to 200. So like, how many years are we talking? And then she doesn't need to eat. She doesn't need to sleep. So I don't think she's necessarily alive.
Yeah, I think she could have been killed and maybe turned into a white, I guess, in a shy or something. Maybe
Hmm.
is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Well, they like she's kind of like Barrack,
Mhm.
like a fire white, like Barrack. So
Yeah,
I,
and John too, I guess.
so I think,
If that does happen.
yeah, I think that's what John is gonna be like Barrack. So I think he could still have a POV. I want him to have a POV because I think we're gonna need to understand his actions, and the only way you can do that really is to like get in their head, like to be in their head.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand why Rob Stark did half of the shit he did, and it's because he doesn't have a POV.
I remember I had my channel. I had started my channel and like that's how I found out about Rob not having a POV in the books. I was like, what the fuck? He's like the coolest motherfucker. That's crazy. And you need to tell people that. And they're like, really? Like, yeah, not everybody has it. But when you do tell someone that, they understand the show better because it's told from so many different perspectives, and they're always jumping around and they're like, oh, okay. So it's like when you see John north of the wall, this is technically John's POV chapters in the book. So it kind of all revolves around him and his experiences with other people, and the way that they make other characters portray it. John's super intelligent in the books. The way that they portray certain, we can't get that in the TV show. It's just impossible to do that in movies and stuff. When they try to do that internal monologue as dialogue, sounds fucking dumb. Like I don't know, but
Yeah,
a good job of that is Rorschach from the Watchmen movie that came out in like 2009. That's a good use of that. But they can't do that in the TV show. So you kind of see how other characters are portrayed as like bad guys or assholes because that's John's point of view. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's an unreliable narrator, and
Yes.
and that's why I like A Song of Ice and Fire a lot because of that. Because the other book series that I like is Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, and that also has POV characters and the unreliable narrator, and I think that's like that makes books interesting because you don't know, like you're interpreting things based on what the character thinks, like you don't actually know and you have to figure it out, like figure out what's happening.
Yeah, like isn't that why some people think? I don't. I feel like I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. Never mind. I was gonna say something about Quentin Martell being burned. That's like Preston Jacobs came up with a theory of him not actually being dead or something. Have you heard of that? Like he wasn't like killed or something. I don't know. When he went to go
Yeah, I
see.
think he has like a whole
Yeah.
Preston has like a whole Dornish master plan.
Yeah.
Quentin's not dead. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
funny.
don't know the details of it, but
Yeah.
I'm interested. Like, I hope he's not dead.
Yeah, it's funny because when you go, like, when you're at the Game of Thrones convention or something, a lot of those people that come up to you and say, "Hey, nice to meet you. I watch your videos on YouTube." They've seen Preston Jacobs and they know his stuff. So when you kind of bring up certain theories, a lot of people will just sort of just laugh it the fuck off, like that is a crackpot theory. But he does such a good job of laying it out for you, where you're kind of like, I see where you're going, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I don't know if you ever watched his video on, like, what is it? The Frey Civil War. Like,
I haven't seen his videos in a while, but if it was something that came out,
it's pretty old. Yeah, it's pretty old. It's a Frey Civil War, and he's like, I think that's. I don't know. Whatever it was, I watched of his, and I did not agree before I watched it, and I was like, oh my god, detective.
Yeah, he's really good at that. All right, well, it's right at an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Gray, one more time, do you want to tell everybody where they can find you at?
You can find me on my channel you can find me on my channel, Gray Area, Instagram, Twitter at This Gray Area, and you can also find me on the podcast that I host called Obsidian Nights, where we reread through A Song of Ice and Fire.
And I'll link that down below in the description. Thanks again for coming on my channel.
Thanks for having me.
I want to thank you all so much for watching. My name's Mark, and this has been. Oh yeah, the like goal is gonna be 420. Thank you all for watching. Peace.